I don't think I have to say this, but I swear this story is completely true. So, this happened a few years ago, when I was in 5th grade, going into 6th grade. I started piano lessons. I absolutely hated playing piano. The organ/piano player at my church offered me free lessons because my mom helped out a lot. He was a very nice man. I just hated playing piano. My family had bought an old piano from someone my family knew, so I'd be able to practice for an hour at home every day. One night, near Christmas, when my brother was at a friend's house and my parents were at a dinner for my dad's work, I was practicing piano. The only lights that were on top of the piano, so I could see the music, and the dim lights from the Christmas tree. The piano was against the wall, with my back to the door. To my right was the hallway that leads to the bedrooms, and on my left was the living room where the tree was. There was no sound other than me occasionally hitting a key. I started having this weird feeling of dread when I looked down the hallway. That's when I started hearing something that was creeping me out. It sounded like breathing. I kept trying to convince myself it was just a fan, but I was still unsure. I sat at the piano and started really practicing, just in case there really was a person down there waiting for me to walk down the hall. I had seen a few horror movies, so I knew not to move near a sound. After a few minutes, I told myself out loud that I should get some water. So I stood up and walked to my kitchen that was on the other side of the wall. I didn't have a phone in 6th grade, so I would usually use my parents' or house phone. The second I stood, I heard a small gasp-like sound coming from the hallway. I pretended not to hear it. In the biggest drawer closest to the floor, my dad kept a few of his smaller tools and nails and stuff. I remember seeing a large box cutter type thing. I grabbed it, then I grabbed the house phone that was in the kitchen. I accidentally grabbed the phone too hard, causing me to hit a button that let out a beep. This sound is never really that loud, but with it being nighttime and me being home alone, it was almost deafening to me. I then heard a low grunt-like sound coming from the hall, then footsteps. My fight-or-flight instinct kicked in, mixing with my adrenaline, and I ripped open the sliding back door and ran to the side of my house, basically flying over my fence, dropping the box cutter in the process. I ran as fast as I could down the block because I could hear him trying to get over the fence. I looked like an idiot and saw the silhouette of what, I'm guessing, was a 6-foot-tall man chasing me. I started screaming bloody murder while trying to call 911, but I was too far away from my house for the phone to work. That's when I saw one of my neighbor's lights come on, and I ran over and started banging on the door. I quickly looked to see where the man was, and he started sprinting the opposite way. My neighbor let me in, called the police, and helped me calm down. I had somehow escaped with my life, with only a few minor scraps and cuts on my knees and feet. When the police got to my house, they figured out how the man got in. My brother had accidentally left his window cracked open, and the man was able to cut open the screen and open the window the rest of the way. They also found a rope, duct tape, and multiple knives on the ground of the hallway. My neighbor across the street had a camera facing the road because people had been stealing mail. The police looked through the footage and found one man would watch our house for a few minutes every few hours for a week. He knew I was home alone that night. For the next few weeks they had cops watching our house until we moved. They never caught the man, but he is the reason I now have severe anxiety and paranoia. My sister and I are sort of magnets for weird shit happening, so I might post a couple of other stories in the future. This happened when I was about 12 years old in Kansas. I was sitting in my bedroom playing Halo. My parents were both out running errands and my sister was at work, so I was home alone with my 2 dogs, a little terrier and a Bichon Frise. Not exactly the attack dog breeds, more likely warning systems at best. I had been home alone before. It really was not a big deal. We lived in a pretty safe part of town that never had any problems, other than the time where some people sprayed KKK graffiti on some public park equipment. Anyway, I was kicking back in my chair, Doritos in one hand, controller in the other, when I heard the very distinct sound of my door open and close, like someone had just come in. The room I was in faced in such a way where I could not see the front door. My dogs got up and ran to the living room, and so I just assumed my parents were home. I shouted for my mom to confirm this. I'm a bit paranoid due to that aforementioned being a weird shit magnet, and I hear no response. My dogs also were not barking like they normally do when someone gets home. I thought that was kinda weird, so I paused my game and walked out into the living room. Nothing. I felt the hairs in the back of my neck stand up. I had heard someone come in, clear as day. I was not wearing headphones. I had the TV turned down and was listening to music, so I knew it couldn't have been the game. I immediately went to my parents' closet and grabbed that shotgun, like a good Midwest boy tends to do. The only problem with that was that I did not know where my dad kept the shells, so my plan was to fake it and hope they didn't have a gun of their own. Stupid plan. I wasn't the brightest kid. At this point, doubt started to kick in. Had I actually heard the door? Was it the game? But then I thought, why would the dogs jump up like that if it was? I walked back into my living room, unloaded shotgun pointing in front of me. I tried to call my dad. He didn't pick up. I tried to call my mom. She didn't pick up. I tried to call my 2 best friends. They didn't pick up. My 12-year-old mind immediately jumped to, they're dead. And so, for the first time in my life, I had to call 911. The operator picked up. I explained the situation with tears in my eyes from fear. She told me to stay calm and the police were on their way. The difficult part about staying calm was that there was a hallway by my front door. I knew in my heart of hearts that there was someone in the hallway, about to jump out and really fuck up my day. My 2 dogs were right by me, also staring towards the hallway. This did not help the fear. I stood there rooted to the spot for what felt like an hour, but was actually only a few minutes. The operator's voice in my ear telling me to stay calm. Thankfully, my parents opened the door, greeting me with a, "What are you doing?" I explained to my father the situation we are currently in. He grabs his pistol from the front room. Didn't know that was there, thanks Dad. And we go hunting. I always thought it would be cool to go around, clearing rooms and shit like a SWAT team. But fuck if I wasn't going to shit myself every time we opened the bedroom door. We didn't find anything. The police arrived shortly after and told us that this had been happening over the past few weeks. People wait until homeowners leave, check the door, and if it's unlocked, they go in and take valuables. They said whoever it was probably left when they heard that someone was home, which never quite sat right with me, because I only heard the door open and close once. Ever since this happened, I have triple-checked every door and window lock whenever I am home alone. To whoever walked into my house that day, I never saw you, and I really hope I never do. As a fun little postscript to this story, I told it to one of my friends and he said, "You only heard the door once? You probably heard them leaving, not entering then. They were already in the house." That was not comforting. Thanks so much for watching tonight's episode of Spooky Season. I hope you enjoyed watching or listening to it as much as we did making it. If you liked it, leave a like rating down below and subscribe for future content. See you next time, and sweet dreams.